Hello everyone, I am Mr.Gaygusuz. I live in Istanbul, one of the most beautiful cities in Turkey. I am a technology entrepreneur. I am the founder of the SmartBook platform, which focuses on the field of librarianship, currently used in all central public libraries in Turkey's 81 cities, and in a total of 130 public libraries. Our platform is actually a combination of virtual reality and artificial intelligence. It consists of various modules. I will talk about these because I believe that by explaining my perspective, both on entrepreneurship and in the field of librarianship, focusing a bit more on content technologies, by sharing what I do, telling the stories I've experienced, trying to touch on certain key points, and explaining how we perceive both national and international vision. I will try to convey this. Of course, I'm not actually alone in this endeavor. I met my spouse when we went to university at the ages of 18 and 19. They are a clinical psychologist. And in fact, we designed the meta-therapy module on the SmartBook platform together. Users can put on a VR headset here and go to various scenes to receive a solution proposal. Of course, this is done scientifically. Otherwise, nowadays, especially in Turkey, when psychology is mentioned, we encounter a lot of Instagram videos. They are constantly filled with directives like, definitely do this, don't do that. By staying away from that, we actually explain more relaxing and scientific techniques in this field. Metatherapy is also one of the modules of the SmartBook. We have many different modules related to this. I'll make a video somewhere around here, to this side or that side. Meanwhile, the system will rotate. And I will also share various things we explained in the SmartBook with you. Let me start with the area I'm currently in. Here I think there's a Turkish instrument. Yes, here. I play about 4 or 5 instruments. I've been very interested in this topic since I was a child. Here in our living room, which is never lacking, we have our board. We take various notes here, ideas that come to mind. This is the first VR headset we bought. I can say it's almost one of the first models from Oculus. Let me show you, this is my spouse's signature, and this is my signature. And this is a certificate of appreciation we received from an organization that is very important and valuable to us. Actually, my desk is directly on the opposite side. Right now, I'm on my spouse's side of the desk. We actually work by looking at these. It motivates us more. I actually find these parts a bit boring. Let me talk a bit about what we've done and our observations. How did this story develop? How did it start? Later on, we can even delve much deeper because, actually, we all have a story in life. Some stories, we want to believe in them so much that this situation can be very threatened by entrepreneurial blindness, startup blindness, and falling in love with an idea. Because we love doing that work so much, and sometimes our profit, the financial gains that would improve our lives, may not be at that level. Especially in recent years when we look at startups, we see a bit of this. How did we fight against this? And while doing these jobs, when starting, what was our worldview? We actually call this building a library on Mars, among ourselves, within our group. I will also explain this concept here. Now, first of all, during the pandemic, at the beginning of the 2020s, we realized this. With a QR code, of course, it was a time when QR codes became very popular. Vaccines, patient cards, withdrawing money from ATMs with QR codes. We thought, if we can withdraw money from an ATM with a QR code, if we can scan menus, why can't we do something detailed with books? I mean, instead of just scanning the QR code to access basic information or videos, why can't we create something where we combine it with the metaverse or virtual reality, where we see the author in front of us, and move the learning process to a much more interactive and experiential learning experience? Of course, since we've been dealing with software for about 15 or 16 years, this idea, this thought, has had a significant impact on us. Later on, we created the first smart books based on the classics. We focused on works whose copyright has expired, ensuring we received legal consultancy for the 70-year period. Currently, we are concentrating on classic works in Turkey and the United States. And in our research, I believe it has been modeled 5 or 10 times. In fact, some authors have never been modeled in 3D. Authors from the classical period who contributed to the world's intellectual knowledge base. The world's intellectual, how should we put it? We have modeled in 3D the authors who have contributed to intellectual richness in general, from history to science, from poetry to art, and who are accepted and recognized worldwide. And then we started modeling known objects related to these authors' lives or specific scenes from their books. Our initial primary goal was this: if what we are doing seems very impressive to us, and if we can enhance our learning process and have a more special experience while we are in it, we actually thought this would also reflect on the user. I'm not saying this as a classic statement. First, it should affect us. Then, I shouldn't expect others to do something I haven't done myself. I think that this kind of marketing and entrepreneurial vision alone is no longer sufficient. We should support this with various concepts. So we did something like this. We modeled the author. We included a documentary about the author. We added voice narrations about the author using artificial intelligence in a VR environment. All of this is in a VR environment, along with photos from the author's life, and users can navigate by clicking on circles just like in Google Maps. Then, in these parts, we had more than 50 authors, and started modeling over 4,000 3D objects. After a while, we trained various artificial intelligences and actually received support from them in the modeling. Later on, we realized that this is all we have, but the user came, connected to the system from a website, thinking about what else we can do, and we added a VR gallery, a virtual reality art gallery module to this, because our goal was that Van Gogh's Starry Night is actually a universal language. We can chat with people from almost every nation in the world just based on our perspective of this painting. We believe in and support these values. We believe that being able to encounter this aspect of art or the transformative power of knowledge introduces another concept, another quality in life. Acquaintances can be based on many things, but when they are based on the power of knowledge, it has a different aspect. We believe that this could exist not only in universities or specific fields, but also in public libraries, this quality of knowledge acquaintance. And fundamentally, what we are doing is carrying and combining this quality of knowledge with experiential learning. We are doing this through virtual reality because virtual reality has a particular significance. For the first time in history, we are actually learning by being immersed in it. This is how we define it. In other words, throughout history, we have always engaged in learning by reading, listening, through auditory means, and by seeing various visuals, essentially creating an internal-external interaction. This is how it develops. However, since the advent of VR headsets and virtual reality, we have been experiencing experiential learning by being immersed in something. It's like this. Imagine being able to embrace the alphabet, or what can we say about this? Imagine being able to hold a piece of information you learned as if it were tangible, or even consume it. Now you're in contact, you are inside it. Perhaps many more examples can be given. But at various conferences and seminars I've attended since my university days, I usually don't take a lot of notes while speaking. I just think a little beforehand. I start thinking a few days in advance, because I believe that when our experiences bring us to that point, we should also talk a little. When we gather our thoughts and are ready to explain, we can always convey it. Therefore, the quality of my examples, at least for this video, will be somewhat like this. Now, while explaining this virtual reality part, we mentioned the VR gallery with Van Gogh, so I won't prolong that. For example, the user can enter the Starry Night painting, or listen to the painting audibly, so while exploring Da Vinci's works. And what does it mean to be inside a painting for the first time? We come to understand and see this. Of course, I will delve into the deeper details and interesting aspects of this shortly. In this part, we modeled 24 paintings that have made history worldwide. And Osman Hamdi Bey is one of the famous painters of our country. He has a painting called The Tortoise Trainer, an Orientalist painting. We placed it in the gallery as a three-dimensional assistant, like a virtual assistant explaining to people what it can do here. Afterwards, of course, initiatives are always in a chain. Some modules, ideas. We said if we're doing this, let's put something different out there this time. Let it be like the user can take lessons directly from a private tutor in virtual reality. How can we do this? We went to the most famous classified site in our country, Turkey, and looked at tutors offering private lessons. And generally these sites are for selling items, real estate, and cars. The rate of private lessons is a bit low compared to these. And then we contacted these tutors and purchased the lifetime rights to their educational content. We recorded them on video. Our goal here is this. Today on YouTube, even artificial intelligence, when we started back then, it wasn't as advanced, but now it has developed a lot and can teach you most things. But our aim was this. Could we achieve realism? Can we enhance learning? And when the user's attention is distracted, meaning when they turn their head in another direction, the tutor should stop talking and continue when they look back. How much can we achieve this with motion tracking? Because actually, this is a bit of a dream for many mischievous students. They turn their head, get bored in class, wishing that when they return, the tutor could continue. Or we had a bit of a mischievous student life. We actually incorporated this into chess training, Old Turkish and Ottoman language training, body language, and diction training by collaborating with 3 of our instructors. Of course, public libraries also have an educational role on individuals, distributing knowledge. Sometimes we see a cable underground. Sometimes the lamp itself is visible outside. Sometimes we can't see it, but it's like the knowledge is inside those cables. I can compare it with this example. And then we said, okay, we have 3 modules now. Now we can start. There is metatherapy. There is a SmartBook, a virtual reality area. There is a VR gallery section where we see the authors. And when we first went to the Turkish Ministry of Culture, they were very supportive of us in our development, in their listening. As a young entrepreneur, we really hadn't been listened to this much in most places until now. In fact, while we were working on the project, in various socio-cultural environments, maybe some of you have experienced this, they said, is it going to make the author speak? The author will speak, libraries will acquire it, and they will make money from it. Some belittled our country, some said it wouldn't catch on, but we always tried to create the vision for this. Don't pay attention to these parts. I think the concept of establishing a library on Mars will gradually start to settle in with what I've explained. Afterwards, we only wanted one thing. We wanted our public library to allow us to develop this in a truly reasonable manner, both in terms of service and price, and my spouse and I wanted to travel around Turkey to provide physical education in person, and we visited nearly 70 cities, from the west to the far east of Turkey. This lasted for a very nice 1 to 1.5, almost 2 months. They were beautiful summer months. We had the chance to get to know the libraries there, the needs of public libraries, the behaviors of users. Previously, we conducted various surveys, but by going into the field, seeing the expectations of the librarians, and observing their workload, we were able to notice these things. We had the chance to experience the SmartBook in this way, and we took the first SmartBook out of the books and put it on a roll-up. There is a QR code on it. When you connect to the Wi-Fi network and enter your code, you can register to the system and use it. You can also use this system from home. After you register, we update our system annually. Every year, new features are added to the system, and the user just scans the QR code. Of course, our Instagram account is on the board. We have an artificial intelligence support unit So we say that libraries are busy, librarians are busy. If a user asks something and encounters this busyness, they should connect directly to us. We also provide training to the user. We do this both with artificial intelligence and personally, one-on-one. And all of these are included on the roll-up. On our board. Later on, we made the whole system a bit more practical this way and gathered feedback from librarians. What do you think could be included, what should be in the system, and so on. They are generally baby and children's libraries in Turkey. There are currently nearly 100 baby and children's libraries. There is a lot of tablet usage among children in these. There were requests for more educational content for these, or rather, there have been. And here, together with my spouse, we created a second module by utilizing her clinical psychology knowledge. We actually included educational games related to psychology. There are also 25 web-based games here that support reinforced learning. For example, in all libraries in Turkey, World Library Day is celebrated, World Poetry Day is celebrated, Environment Day is celebrated, and the deaths of important authors are commemorated, both international authors and our local authors. Educational events are held for these, such as celebrating Traffic Day, which teaches recycling. For example, there is no gamified content or anything that teaches traffic rules, because our libraries have been stuck in a hardware-focused part for a long time, as we have observed and researched in most parts of the world. Of course, in some countries, both the social structure and the flow of life are contrary to this. They have a more social approach to librarianship in more social conditions. But we have noticed this in Turkey. Librarianship has been stuck on the hardware side, that is, book cataloging systems, card entry systems, camera systems, new reservation systems, and book purchasing. In addition, since 2019, an intensive workshop program has been organized in Turkey. But actually, these workshop programs are organized with the efforts of our librarians and with the support of both the Ministry and the General Directorate of Libraries. In other words, entrepreneurs have somewhat left this area vacant. Many different things can be taught there. Programs, like try and do new things, can be organized. If I'm not mistaken, currently nearly 30,000 workshops are organized annually in 1,300 public libraries. We wanted to fill this area a bit, therefore when we noticed this game aspect, it wasn't there yet. And here we created various educational games with really instructive audio supported features and put them online. The aim here was, families asking if there isn't something educational they can play at home, or when they say the child spends too much time on the tablet, then goes to the computer. We created these games especially for the younger age group, so that people, our users, can benefit from them as a library service. Then we finally said, what kind of update should we make? I will leave the links and other various things here, or you can check them out on the channel from there. In the latest SmartBook update, you can chat with authors using artificial intelligence. Of course, this is a limited conversation. Each author can talk about their own life in 35 foreign languages. Here we actually created a diverse chatbot system by taking the basic information of the authors and information from their books. If you ask something outside of their books or life, it doesn't respond. You can also do this in a virtual reality environment with our system. You can do it by having a conversation in front of you, or if you prefer, by writing, because our aim here was this. For example, let a virtual interview be conducted on Victor Hugo's Commemoration Day, or I'm talking to Victor Hugo with artificial intelligence. A child can hold a microphone, and a Q&A session can be conducted in the projection room, or it can be projected with VR glasses. Our intention is actually to prepare our libraries for the current technological renaissance, and as we delved into this part, we designed over 100 environments under the name of VR experiences, and a new module was launched. Here, for example, you can explore from the Great Wall of China to the surface of Mars with Galileo. Since he was the first to discover it, he explains it to you with artificial intelligence. We created modules in this way. You can go to the poles or see the northern lights, for example. Later on, the SmartBook actually took its current form, and in Turkey, due to internet speed connections, or rather internet speed, the price of Oculus headsets, exchange rate fluctuations, and the variable value of the dollar, we made the system not only VR-based but also web-based, making it accessible from VR, as well as from mobile phones, tablets, and computers, adapting to our economy. As long as you become a member using the library's Wi-Fi, go to the library. This was our only condition, and since the cost of Oculus headsets is somewhat high, we made it so that you can use it with just regular cardboard glasses by inserting a regular phone jack into them. However, you can still use the system when you use Oculus 2, 3, or Apple Vision Pro. This only enhances the content quality based on the device's quality, because we can actually produce our image quality in 8K or even 16K. But again, we have memory retrieval systems that we use in the background so that the internet can handle it, so that it can be accessed under equal conditions from all over Turkey. And actually this part will be quite sufficient. After visiting 70 cities, we wrote a report on their public libraries. A report on the Turkish public library from the perspective of an entrepreneur and a service provider. We wrote it together with my spouse. She wrote her perspective, and I wrote mine. And we also submitted this to various interested parties, authorities, and relevant government units. Later, for the first time in Turkey, a library technology fair was organized, a festival, and about 3 or 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, it has been 3 or 4 years, the Rami Library was opened. This is the largest library in Turkey. It is a place converted from a historical military barracks dating back to the 1800s, and it is truly very large. Compared to most of our libraries, it might even be among the top 5 or 10 libraries in Europe, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of the number of works. It has a modern historical structure that caters to various concepts, like the Green Library and the Accessible Library. There, we later had the chance to experience the SmartBook. We participated in more than 10 cultural festivals and technology festivals in our country. We attended the Turkey Innovation Week. We always showcased our product at these events. Actually, what we are currently working on is not just the SmartBook, but our new project aimed at libraries, where we can convey the content much better, and we are considering promoting it internationally. We want to become an international content producer for all public libraries, and we believe that we can achieve this, at least to a certain extent, with always affordable by prices, manageable access, and a focus on both the user and the librarian. In this video, I will not talk about the other 2 initiatives. One of the main reasons I'm making this video is that we are currently in the process of applying to and attending the largest library fair held in America. In fact, it's also about introducing ourselves there and particularly drawing attention to library content and the library content technology. In my subsequent videos, I will also talk about various other things. Thank you very much to everyone.